Okay, I'm Richard Ronaldo. I'm the coordinator of the Research Analyst program at Georgian College in Barrie, Ontario.
Thank you. So could you please tell us a little bit, just in general, about the program? How long is it? Just in general.
The Research Analyst program is 2 semesters. During the fall semester, you work on foundational courses. So in fundamentals of statistics, qualitative research techniques, survey methods. And then the second term, you work on more advanced research techniques, and you also complete what's referred to as a major research project. With the major research project, you work with an external client, a real client, and complete a research project that meets the organizational or business needs of that client. And then in the summer, or the third semester, students enter a co-op where they work for a research employer out in industry.
That's great. Thank you. How our program differs from similar ones offered at other colleges?
The Research Analyst program was the first program. So we've been in existence for over approximately about 20-some years. So we have many graduates out in industry who are RAPP graduates. So our program has a very extensive network of alumni, and those alumni are employed as researchers, and many of them have risen to senior management positions in research organizations. And we also work really hard to maintain connections with our alumni. So when students come to RAPP at Georgian, they're exposed to a very wide network of researchers who are RAPP alumni.
Okay, thank you. So, and why do you think students should choose Georgian for this program? Why Georgian?
At Georgian College, with our Research Analyst program, we're very focused on experiential learning. So we have a lot of guest lecturers come in from industry to give students information on what's going on in terms of the latest technology techniques. Students work on class projects that are with clients. So they'll work on a survey or a focus group for a client that has that need. And they also, as I mentioned before, have their major research project. So we have the students right from the start are actively engaged with employers and with companies that have research requirements.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And what is the capacity of the program?
We're currently running what's referred to as 2 intakes. So we have 2 groups of students come in the fall, and we're at roughly, the enrollment limit for each is 35. So we have about 70 students in the fall that enter. And then we have another intake in January, and that is for roughly about 35 students.
Okay, thank you. And what is the percentage of the international students in the groups?
We've been in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I would say roughly 75% of our students are international students, and we've worked really hard to modify the curriculum to meet the needs of international students who are coming in from other countries, and to help them basically acclimatize to North American business culture. Many times help them improve and hone their English business writing skills and their presentation skills.
Okay, thank you. What kind of teaching methodologies are involved in the program?
There's a mixture of lecture, hands-on, and experiential learning opportunities. So students are taught the fundamental skills that they need in a lecture format. They use advanced software within the area. So for example, NVivo is a qualitative research software. We have that at the college here, so students use the latest in terms of technology. They're introduced in some courses to more up-to-date forms of, say for example, like data visualization using products such as Tableau. And we also, students use the statistical package for the social sciences, referred to as SPSS. So students learn the specialized stat software that they need.
Okay. And is there more of group projects or individual work involved in the program?
There is a mix of individual and group work. The individual work allows for instructors and myself to assess the skills for each individual, and assessing the skills to help them to find out where weaknesses and strengths are and where they can improve. But one of the strengths of the RAPP program is group project work. Students typically come, because it is post-grad, they come from university college programs where you have to demonstrate your ability to independently complete research. So you work as an individual on a research project, say for example an undergraduate thesis. In applied research, the work is very much group-based. So what you have to do is you have to learn the skills you need to kind of like manage a project and work with a team of researchers and work with a client. And oftentimes people have to learn how to negotiate, sometimes how to manage the tasks and workload, and ensure that the workload's divided up equally amongst the team members. You have to learn to work with people's strengths and weaknesses. So on a project, someone may be interested in a certain area of work that needs to be done, and they have the skill set for it, and making sure that where the people's interests and strengths align with the group work. These are skills that you learn through practice and being engaged in group work. So for example, like the major research project, when you work with a client, you work as a team with that client. So we really focus on students being exposed to group-based work.
That's good. Good to know. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And are there any specific facilities for this program, like computer labs or something like that?
We use classrooms. We have classrooms that are more boardroom table settings. So with that classroom we use for group work, and then we typically use a computer lab that seems to be dedicated for RAPP. That one classroom we have. So students have the ability to they have a desktop computer available to them as an individual in the class, and some students are bringing their own device too. And we have that flexibility because at Georgian we have the ability in terms of our licensing on with software that students can take proprietary software, say for example the advanced stats package SPSS. They have the ability to download that onto their own personal computer and use it for their program work.
That's nice. So you said there are a lot of international students in the program.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges that international students face in this program?
I think the biggest challenge is that it's international students coming into the program. They show up in, say for example, in August. They start immediately into the program, and sometimes that can be a very difficult transition. You're away from home, you're in a different country, different culture. And we work really hard to help the students kind of acclimatize to life in Barrie, for example. And then we also help them through the 2 semesters. It's a very short period of time, so you have 8 months, and within a period of 8 months, getting adjusted to the work environment, networking and forming new connections, new friends, knowing people out in the industry, for example, the alumni that we associate with, and then after 8 months being prepared as a research professional to enter the workplace. So it's a short period of time. It takes a lot to kind of go through very quickly and basically acclimatize. And the students are very successful at it, and we ensure that there are the supports at the college to help the students if they find they have some struggle. It's going to be small little things. The college can help with, say for example, like visa issues, issues with respect to ensuring you have your health insurance, like small little things that on the surface may not seem important, but they can be very aggravating and very frustrating if they're not dealt with. So we like to work closely with the students to make sure that all those small things are taken care of.
Okay, thanks. Is there any license that graduates needs to obtain after finishing the program to get the job?
No, but there are licensing bodies. It depends on where a student works. So if we have basically two sides to the program: a marketing research side, business intelligence, and we also have for program evaluation. So evaluating programs on the service side, particularly in the public sector for healthcare, education. On that side, on the evaluation side, there is the Canadian Evaluation Society, and there is a path to accreditation as a professional evaluator. And the RAPP program is an entry point into achieving that professional designation. And they also have, for example, they liaise with us. There's a case competition where students submit or they're given a task, a project, an evaluation project, and they have to come up with a methodology and a project plan. And they're evaluated on it, and it's a regional competition. And if they succeed at the regional level, they go to the national competition. And we've had students win that competition.
Nice.
And last year, there was the Marketing Research and Intelligence Association, MRIA. It doesn't exist anymore, but something will take its place. We had a team of students come second in a national marketing research competition. And that team of 3 students, they won $2,000. And they had their travel expenses covered, flight and airfare to Vancouver to compete in the national competition and then to finish second. So,
That is great.
well, thank you.
Are there any other credentials like required to get a job in the industry, like beside the diploma or other like certificates?
There's no governing body, so we don't have there's no, like, say for example, like doctors, lawyers, teachers, chiropractors, nurses. There's not a professional governing body for the profession. So no, there is no formal required accreditation. Typically, it's you enter the workplace. If you work for a consulting firm or a polling firm, you start in that organization and then you progress through the organization. And those organizations themselves are fairly large and complex. So professionally, you can move around in different divisions of a polling firm, for example. And if you're working program evaluation, you can change organizations too. So people have a fair amount of flexibility in terms of their career opportunities.
Thank you. And what kind of entry-level jobs can graduates get?
Students out of the RAPP program, they typically enter a junior, what would be an entry-level research position, so like a researcher. You're competing with students who typically may have come out of the undergraduate program in the social sciences, for example. And what we pride ourselves on is we're interested in a very diverse population of students. So students coming from, say for example, the humanities. If you have a degree in comparative literature, for example, the RAPP program could be for you, because our assumption is when a student enters the program, they have no formal training in applied research. So we can have students who have some background coming from the social sciences, but then we can have students coming from other areas where they haven't received that training in their education. So that's important to the program, so that we do like that diversity in terms of the backgrounds of the students.
And,
because they're in an entry-level position as a researcher. It's typically through experience. So when they're in the position for a year or two, oftentimes they can then move up to a more senior research position, and then after that, then many of the students, the very successful ones, they go into management and then senior management.
And could you provide us the employment rates of our graduates?
We had a bunch, like so far as our placement in the summer, some of them go off on different careers, but what would be a most telling stat is of our recent grads who just finished their co-op in the summer and entered the workplace, I think almost 26% of the students were hired by the place where they held their co-op. So that means that they didn't like leave their co-op and go someplace else. The company where they completed their co-op was satisfied with them and hired them. So I think that's a really good indicator.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity for students, right?
Yeah.
Which province do you think has the most opportunities for students?
I guess the leading area would be the Greater Toronto area. I would say the next leading area would be the Montreal area, and then across to Vancouver and coastal British Columbia, basically Vancouver, Victoria.